Everyone laughed when a billionaire CEO married his 19-year-old maid. They called her a gold digger, a scandal, a mistake. But on their honeymoon, she did something so pure and heartbreaking, it left even him in tears and changed his life forever. This isn't just a love story, it's about humility, sacrifice, and the kind of wealth money can't buy. Stories that prove kindness still exists in unexpected places. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We share real emotional, life-changing narratives every day that you won't want to miss. The wedding shocked everyone. Billionaire CEO Richard Vance, founder of one of America's largest tech firms, married not a celebrity, not a model, not even someone from his elite circle, but Layla, a 19-year-old housemaid who had been working in his estate for just under a year. The media exploded. Social feeds lit up with speculation, mockery, and conspiracy theories. Some accused her of being a gold digger. Others claimed Richard had lost his mind, but neither of them said a word publicly. To Richard, the world didn't understand what he had seen in Layla. The quiet dignity in the way she cared for his aging mother, the calm strength in her voice when others spoke down to her, the way she looked him in the eye without fear or flattery. And for Layla, the attention was suffocating. She had grown up in a small rural town, raised by a blind grandmother, and working since the age of 12 just to afford her medicines. This life of luxury and limelight was not her dream. But Richard had offered her something more: respect, safety, and a love she had never known. They flew to a private island in Seychelles for their honeymoon, an attempt to escape the tabloids, to breathe and to begin again. But from the first night, Richard noticed something odd. Layla wasn't interested in the grand villa or the diamond necklace he gifted her on arrival. She barely glanced at the infinity pool or the 5-course gourmet meals prepared by a private chef. Instead, she woke up before sunrise, walked alone to the village side of the island, and returned just before dusk, silent, reserved. Her clothes often dusted with sand and her hands slightly scratched. Richard didn't question her at first. He thought maybe she was overwhelmed, maybe she needed space. But on the 4th day, curiosity got the better of him. He followed her, quietly keeping his distance, and what he saw stopped him in his tracks. Layla had found a rundown shack near the island's fishing docks, where a group of poor local children gathered every morning. She had taken her honeymoon money, the thousands of dollars Richard had gifted her in envelopes and cards, and was using it to buy books, clothes, and meals for them. She had turned their honeymoon into a mission trip. But it wasn't just charity, it was personal. As Richard stood behind a palm tree, watching her sit on the sand, teaching an 8-year-old how to read using sticks and seashells, he finally understood. This wasn't about escaping wealth. This was about remembering where she came from. And for the first time in years, the hardened CEO who once believed love was a transaction felt something rise in his chest that broke him open. Richard stood frozen for several minutes, hidden behind the thickets, watching his new bride laugh with children who had nothing. The wind carried her voice faintly, but it wasn't the words that struck him. It was the lightness in her tone, the complete absence of pretense. This wasn't charity for show. This wasn't something done for cameras or applause. This was Layla being her truest self. That night, he didn't mention what he saw. Instead, he cooked her dinner himself, poorly but with effort. He overcooked the pasta and forgot to add salt. But when Layla saw him fumbling in the kitchen, her face lit up with such tenderness it nearly undid him. They didn't speak about the money. They didn't talk about the jewelry she never wore or the luxuries she quietly rejected. Instead, they sat under the stars, barefoot on the balcony, her head on his shoulder. And for the first time in years, Richard Vance, the man known for boardroom battles and billion-dollar acquisitions, felt entirely at peace. But the story didn't end there. The next morning, Richard rose early and followed her again, this time not as a silent observer, but as a partner. When Layla saw him approach the children's circle, barefoot in linen pants, holding a crate of fresh bread and fruit, she froze. "Why are you here?" she asked softly. "To help," he replied. And that's what he did. For the rest of their honeymoon, they spent each morning with the children. Richard, a man who once barked orders across global time zones, now sat cross-legged teaching kids how to use a calculator, laughing when they corrected him. At night, he and Layla would sit by candlelight, planning how to sponsor the local school, how to get solar lights installed in the fishing village, how to bring sustainable jobs to the island. that had given them clarity. By the time their honeymoon ended, the island had transformed them both. Richard returned not just as a man in love, but as a man humbled. He called his board and announced a major, philanthropic shift in the company's mission, dedicating a significant portion of its profits to educational programs in underprivileged regions. The press tried to spin it as damage control, as image management after the scandalous marriage. But those close to him knew the truth. Layla had changed him in a way that no amount of money ever could. Months later, during a rare interview, Richard was asked why he married a housemaid. He paused, then said, "Because when the world was trying to impress me with yachts and stock valuations, she was busy saving lives quietly, and on our honeymoon, I watched her give everything I gave her without hesitation, without pride. She didn't marry me for my money. I fell in love with her for the wealth she carries in her heart." The room fell silent, and just like that, the narrative flipped. Layla wasn't the girl who trapped a billionaire. She was the woman who taught one how to truly live.